Alright, YouTube, Governor Phil Scott has decided to abandon our state, which really sucks for people here in Rutland because our mayor abandoned common sense months ago. Of course, you'll know Vermont is that state where Bernie Sanders is from, so there's some weirdos in the state, certainly. And largely it works. Yeah, it's pleasant. We get a lot of hippies and shit here. We're also that state that caused a national story when Rutland decided to take a bunch of Syrian refugees for no apparent purpose that we couldn't pay for. And Loris decided to do it sort of under the table without telling anybody until right up against the election, which was about the dumbest thing he could do. Then we took 2 Syrian refugee families in. They came, and we had to stop all the rest from coming. After promising them, oh yeah, you can come in Vermont, Loris had to say, no, actually you can't because Trump got elected. Because I'm a total dumbass when it comes to timing. Which is what Loris is. And I don't think he's going to be reelected. I've heard people that are on the far left talk badly about his refugee crap. Specifically because he didn't tell anyone, he didn't consult anyone, he didn't put it before a vote, he didn't listen to the council, he didn't do any of that. He just acted in a completely autocratic fashion and then tried to grandstand and pretend that it was some great moral virtue. That's why Loris is fucked. But now our governor's doing the same thing now. I voted for Phil Scott. Republican, centrist, just sort of a standard Vermont Republican, which is to say he intended to be elected, do absolutely nothing for a couple terms, then retire and collect his pension. Republicans in this state, they can't do anything. Democratic supermajority in our legislature constantly, never changes. So he didn't have any grand plans other than maybe repealing a couple of taxes, peeling them back by a couple of points and pretending that that was also some sort of victory. But he's decided to break ranks with the GOP on probably the worst issue he could, to try to transform the state of Vermont into a sanctuary state. Now, I sit here and I would ask Phil Scott, will you please listen to a Vermonter, a resident of Vermont, a citizen of Vermont, with more credibility and a hell of a lot more support than you will ever have, namely me. Bad idea. What do you think's gonna fucking happen to our state now? The federal government is going to sue us, and you're going to have to collect money that we don't have from the citizens of this state in order to defend us in court, all while accomplishing nothing. Why would a bunch of refugees or immigrants or whatever group you're talking about want to come to this godforsaken state? We have a bad economic situation. We have no jobs. So they're going to be on welfare. There's no jobs for them to take. The cost of living is so high, even if they get a job, the average job in Vermont is not going to pay them enough to actually live in any semblance of dignity. We've got a drug problem in Vermont that you refuse to try to solve, just the same as goddamn Peter Shumlin or anyone else who's come in the last 20 years. We've got opiate addiction up the asshole in this state, and we are doing nothing to stop it. You're still sending people off to, what is it, Kentucky or some crazy state, to be put in prison because we don't even have enough jails in our state. Why don't you focus on something that'll matter? Why don't you end our pogroms on the state level in the drug war, take that money, and then you can afford some immigrants. You can also afford to lower the tax rate so there'll be businesses so that they'll actually have jobs along with the native population. I get to see homeless people sitting out in front of Walmart, and you're worried about wanting to bring more people into the state who also won't be able... Where are they going to live? Are you going to set up tents out in the middle of the snow? I got 6 inches of snow outside my window right now. You think you think someone from Honduras or Guatemala who doesn't even know what ice is, they live in the tropics, they've come here illegally or legally, it doesn't even matter, they come up here, they're not going to be fucking miserable? What are you talking about? You're nuts. And you think that you're going to get brownie points? Like, I think it's probably a political move. He thinks, oh yeah, well, all these lefties they didn't vote for me, but they'll start to like me because I'm standing up against that big, evil, orange-faced Hitler, Donald Trump. It's not going to work. The left is not going to give you brownie points for standing up for immigrants that probably won't come, and if they do, will probably end up homeless. We have enough problems in this state. We are Vermont. This is not a large state. It's not a juggernaut of industry. We don't have the means to deal with this. It's not a moral issue. It's a pragmatic issue. We've got to take care of our domestic population. There's no problem. I have no problem with somebody. Somebody has immigrated to the United States legally. They're here legally. They choose to move to Vermont. Okay, that's fine. You wanted to move here. There must be a reason for it. But bringing in a bunch of people who, they might be illegal, which is going to get us sued by the federal government. We're probably going to get sued anyway because of what Loris did. We're probably going to get sued. The city of Rutland is probably going to get sued. The state of Vermont's going to have to take the reins and defend our butt-fuck city of Vegas from evil Donald Trump because of what Loris decided to do without even consulting the population of the area he represents. He showed not one bit of heed to anybody that lives here in Rutland, just like you're showing no heed to the people that live in the state. The fact that the majority of people in Burlington will support this move and say that you're a great guy for protecting immigrants does not mean people in the rest of Vermont aren't butt-fuck tired of this. The economic recovery, for example, in this country, we were very, very, very fortunate that our housing crisis in Vermont was largely solved because people said, hey, the prices are going down. This is Vermont. It's a tourist enclave. Oh, I'm buying up that piece of property. I'll slap a coat of paint on it and resell it. So that wasn't a problem here. Look around at the job situation in our state. Why don't you check the want ads? I know you don't have to do that because you're wealthy and you're the governor and stuff. Why don't you check the want ads for Rutland, Burlington, Brattleboro? It doesn't matter where in the state you go. What do you see there? Temporary work, low-paying part-time jobs, and stuff that you have to take a technical ed degree to fill. That's what you see. Nursing, because there are a lot of old people in our state. You think the solution to our demographic problem long-term is take immigrants in? No, I think eventually those immigrants, should they assimilate at all, which is not entirely clear under the sort of policies we've been operating under for the last few decades, I think eventually they'll get old. They'll stop having kids too because there's no future for their kids. If they're actually interested in working and assimilating and being part of American culture, these immigrants are going to act just like the native population. You will very temporarily solve the demographic crisis that we have in our aging state, just like Maine could do. And it will be a very temporary fix. Then there's the even worse counterpart. What if some of them don't? They find that it's miserable here. They don't even really want to be here. Taking a bunch of refugees from a country that Obama bombed into oblivion and put them in the United States. Why would they assimilate? If somebody bombed Vermont, reduced our cities to ashes, and I became a migrant, I became a refugee, and some other country that was responsible for that bombing campaign in the first place largely invited me in and I went there, what do you think would be the first thing that I'd do? Look for ways to screw that state and everybody in it, because I'd hold them all personally accountable for my misery and the misery of those around me. Maybe you've lost a significant other, a child, a parent. It doesn't matter. Your street was blown to bits by a cluster bomb. Why on earth would they assimilate? If they do, more power to them. They're among the most noble in the world for assimilating into the culture of a country that they see as personally responsible for their misery. So I don't know what Phil Scott's fucking talking about. I suggest that he immediately issue an apology to the people of Vermont and stop grandstanding like Loris. Look what happened to him. Look what's happening to him now. Yeah, you think his approval is high right now? The only thing high is Chris Loris. He in order to take care of the chronic stress from so many people hating him, he's probably taken up the pipe again or something like that by now. I don't know what Phil Scott's thinking. He's a Republican. A lot of people in this country, partisan as it is, and here's a lesson for all the centrist Republicans that want to do some moral grandstanding. The left considers you evil. They consider you evil not because of your policies. They don't know anything about your policies. They consider you evil because you're a Republican. You're not going to win many brownie points among them by pretending that you suddenly swung to the left on immigration. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get our state sued. It's going to be long, messy, expensive. We're going to get browbeaten. And a lot of people will probably boycott tourism to this state. Yeah, a lot of the people who come visit our state are Republicans. You're not going to increase the number of Democrats coming to visit our state and see our trees. A lot of them live in places where there are plenty of trees to begin with. A lot of them live right here in this state. It is Vermont, after all. You're going to fuck up our tourist-based economy, all while expending funds we don't have, fighting a legal battle we don't need to fight, for absolutely nothing. What a wonderful job you're doing as governor. Yeah, I think you'll probably be a one-termer. And to any of my fellow Vermonters, make him one. Hell, let's try to kick him out of office. Let's try to impeach him from that position. Even if it ends up the far-left Democrat in office, what's the difference? It's the same thing. He's going to do, apparently on immigration, he's going to be exactly the same. to the left of Bernie Sanders. Even Sanders, I don't think, is openly encouraged, oh yeah, the states need to take the reins and fight back against this and import everybody. It's a crazy idea. Who's going to want to immigrate to this snowy-ass state in the first place if they're from the tropics? People from this state, they go to the tropics. They move to Florida when they can. They go to Florida or they move to Texas. They move somewhere with jobs where it isn't bleak 6 months out of the year. I love the state of Vermont, but really, we're making a lot of mistakes right now. Well, I think we need to take up a new line. Why don't we make Vermont great again? Not even worry about the country. Okay, other people can handle that. Our state has enough problems. Why don't we try to improve things here? Like, the opiate addiction crisis that's ripping our state apart. We don't have any jobs. That's kind of a problem. We got an aging population because there are no jobs. It's simply a function of a lot of people. They graduate high school, they graduate college, they move out of the state to find jobs. It's not because people in Vermont aren't breeding. It's all the young adults are leaving. That's what's happening. I'm self-employed. I don't have to worry about that necessarily so much. Other people aren't so lucky. They're going to go where there are jobs for them to fill. In most cases, it's going to be Texas. Texas or some flyover state. They go and work on an oil rig or something. They get a nice education from one of our very, very good high schools in this state, which are top of the line. I've seen high schools in like Florida, Texas. Trust me, we're head and shoulders beyond them. That's true. They get a really good education. They go to college. They get a really good education. They graduate. They got debt and they've got a degree and they need to find a job, something related to their degree, or at least that pays the same if they can tolerate it. And they move out of the state. And that's why we've got such an old population. The same's true for Maine. Increasingly for New Hampshire as well. They're a little bit better off because they have a lower tax burden. They don't even, I believe, have a state property tax. Or a sales tax. We have a massive sales tax in this state. Yeah, those tourists, they come here. Oh, you gotta buy something. Half of them probably, they go over to New Hampshire to do their shopping while they're here for a week skiing or whatever. It's a small state after all. It's not like it's not easy to do. If Phil Scott sits there grandstanding as though we don't have enough problems in this state. You haven't even begun to be governor. You've been in for a few weeks. What's your first major act? Oh, yeah, I think I'll piss off half the state. And I'll piss off a large proportion of the other people in this country in order to make a legal issue out of something that doesn't concern us. Vermont should not be a refugee haven. I think there are states that are better equipped to deal with it, like, those that have jobs. Those that are capable, potentially, of running a surplus and not running themselves into the ground despite being high tax areas of the country. Yeah, I think it'd be a little different. You go down to southern Texas sometime and do some price comparisons with the price of goods here in Vermont. It'll blow your fucking mind. When you can go down there, you come up here, you get a nice big hamburger at some restaurant, probably pay like $10-15 for it. You go down to southern Texas, you can get 2 of them for like $3. Oh, it'll blow your mind. You won't even believe it. You'll think you're in a literally different country. You go down to southern Texas or the Tampa area. Prices were lower there too. Not as much, but you get what I mean. And there were actually jobs. Check the want ads down there. Oh, there's reams and reams. You're not even in a big city area. I'm down there in like Weslaco. It's a small town. The Weslaco, Donna, sort of Harlingen area. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of jobs. A lot of them, they're saying, oh, $30K salary to start. Oh, $35K salary to start. Decent jobs. Up here, oh, you wish. You wish there were jobs in this state. Phil Scott doesn't want to have to tackle that issue because he's got no solutions. He doesn't want to tackle the opiate crisis. Hell, it keeps the for-profit prison complex going. Maybe they gave him a 10 grand kickback or something. No, what does he choose as his major issue that he sinks his own career with? Oh yeah, we're going to be a sanctuary state. What a wonderful idea. Oh, well, where are the refugees going to go? Going to dig some tunnels up into the Green Mountains and put them in there? You're going to set up tents out in the middle of the snow? You build them igloos? Something like that? Wonderful. All while people in this state can't even get by. Certainly can't get ahead. That's about all. Peace out.